What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to give my thoughts on all the recent acquisitions the Florida Mayhem have made over the last 3 days or so. Florida decided to change up their coaching staff and bolster their roster by getting some new talent. I guess the best way to talk about this would be in chronological order, but before I get into their first signing, I quickly just wanted to give a word of advance to all of you guys by saying that I don't know anything about any of these players or coaches because I actually don't watch Overwatch contenders very much. The most I'll be able to do is talk about how much I like or dislike the pickup and give some basic background information about each player / coach. Okay, so that's pretty much everything you need to know coming into the video, so without wasting any more time, let's get started by taking a look at their pickup from June 17th. The first player the Mayhem decided to pick up coming into week 3 is Rain. What you should know about Rain is that he's a main support player who most recently played on O2 Blast. He was on the team during their most recent season in Contenders, which means that he was part of the roster that took down Runaway. He's actually been on this O2 team for a while though. Even back when they were O2 Ardeon, he was still on the squad. Rain has been participating in Overwatch Contenders Korea since the very first season, so needless to say, he has a lot of experience under his belt. Now the question becomes, will he help improve his team if he does get start time over Chris on Lucio? I don't really know, to be honest, because again, I don't know anything about this guy. However, I do think the odds of Rain at least playing a little bit better than Chris are pretty high because it's not like Chris set a very high bar for him to surpass. Having a Lucio with good awareness and usages of his sound barriers is pretty important, so let's all hope that Rain can be that guy for Florida moving forward. Now we can talk about the signings that they made yesterday, and I do apologize for not reporting on this sooner. I was pretty busy yesterday, so I just didn't have time to sit down and make a video, but I guess better late than never, right? Anyway, yesterday, on June 19th, Florida officially announced that they had signed 5 people from the team Armament in Overwatch Contenders Korea, 2 of which were coaches and the other 3 were players. Let's start with their player acquisitions. So first up on main tank, they got a guy named Karyan, and I apologize if I butchered that. I've actually never heard of the dude until yesterday, and I've never heard the name be pronounced before, so yeah, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. But anyway, on off tank, they have a guy named Gargoyle, and then DPI is going to be a DPS player for them. The tank line that Florida decided to sign can basically play all the typical main tank or off tank heroes you'd see, so Karyan can play your Ryan and your Winston, and then Gargoyle can play both D.Va and Zarya. DPI, on the other hand, is a bit more interesting. According to his Wikipedia page, the heroes he's most known for playing are Sombra and D.Va, so he's kind of like Ding in a way from the Shanghai Dragons. These new signings definitely bring some needed flexibility to the table for the Mayhem, but throughout the entire day today, I've been thinking to myself, who is going to start for this team, and who's going to play what? There's definitely a bunch of questions you have to ask with these new guys. For one, what are they going to do with this new main tank? I've heard that they actually signed him before they acquired Fate, but now that they've traded for Fate, what are they going to do there? Are they going to split playtime between the 2 of these guys, or something else going to happen? Then comes the decision of who plays D.Va and Zarya for you, because both Gargoyle and DPI can play D.Va if needed. I kept asking myself these 2 things all day long, but then, after reading the Mayhem's most recent article, all of my questions were immediately answered. I definitely want to read some lines from this new article because it actually provides a good amount of insight as to what the Mayhem plan to do in the future, and I'll also be sure to leave a link to it in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. Okay, let's read some lines from this thing because it's actually pretty interesting. June 19th, 2019. To further bolster our roster flexibility and increase our potential in the latter half of the Overwatch League's 2019 season, we've made some exciting new additions that we're happy to finally share with you all. These players and coaches will help form a new core to the Mayhem roster, drawing on their past synergies in Korean contenders to bring the team into a new era of coordination and capability. Gargoyle will be taking over the starting off-tank role going forward after a long and successful tenure in the WGS frontline. His Zarya is of particular interest to us as a team, and his flexibility across a range of off-tank heroes sets him apart from the rest of our trial players. This Gargoyle excerpt immediately gives you an idea of what the starting lineup could be looking like moving forward, as he's going to be the starting off-tank over Zephyr, which isn't really that much of a surprise because in all seriousness, with jokes aside, Zephyr's actually trash, and I guess he could be playing a good amount of Zarya as well. Him playing a fair amount of Zarya in the future definitely shouldn't surprise you because Florida likes to run that composition where they don't have a D.Va, then they have a Sombra, and then their off-tank moves over to Zarya. Let us continue though. DPI is set to become our D.Va/flex DPS specialist moving forward, with a wide hero pool that allows for greater flexibility across a variety of compositions. In a meta that requires more flexibility out of the off-tank world than ever before, we're excited to see what DPI and Gargoyle can do together. Now let's do a quick pause again because this is some very interesting stuff. For one, it would seem that DPI is going to get a fair amount of playtime in the future because the Mayhem want to move in a direction where they have a lot more flexibility. It would seem that he's going to be a D.Va player for the most part, but since he's also a flex DPS, I'm assuming that he could play some Brigitte and maybe even some Sombra as well. Alright, let's continue again. Karyan was signed prior to the addition of Fate and will find time in scrims and on stage as we integrate him into the roster. Carrion is known as a highly proficient Reinhardt specialist, and he and Fate will find their niches as decided upon by the coaching staff as the needs of the team are determined in more detail. So I take it from this paragraph that the team really doesn't know what they want to do with their main tank situation moving forward, and they want to just try and experiment and figure things out right now. The other thing I understand from reading this text is that Carrion is supposedly a pretty decent Rein player, as they're calling him a proficient Reinhardt specialist. Does that mean he's going to consistently start over Fate? Maybe. I'd say that his Reinhardt is probably better if they're giving him all this praise. But you never know. I think it's mostly going to come down to who fits in more with their new team. And if I had to take a guess, I'd say that'd be Carrion, since he's going to have other teammates in the lineup likely who have played with him before, so the synergy's already going to be there for him. As of right now though, I would say that the main tank position is up for grabs. And lastly, now we have to read and analyze what they said about Rain. And I quote, "Rain joins the team as a strong main support presence with a wealth of experience in the 3-3 meta. His veteran status and leadership capabilities for O2 Team and O2 Blast are a perfect fit for the system we're trying to establish, and those capabilities will be used to their fullest extent alongside our other new additions. Rain has past synergy with assistant coach Insight, who also worked with O2 Blast before joining the Mayhem. Based off of this information, I would say that Rain is going to be an important part on his team, and even though they don't blatantly say it, I think it's safe to assume that he's going to be the starter over Chris. It would seem that Florida strongly believes Rain is going to be that veteran and leader that their team so desperately needs. And that's basically everything I wanted to say about all of these new player acquisitions, and if you feel there's some important information I left out about any of these players because maybe you know them really well and you watch Contenders, let me know down in the comment section. I would love to learn more about them since we're most likely going to see them play a lot in the future. Before I end the video though, let me quickly just give my thoughts on these new coaches that Florida decided to get. As mentioned earlier, their head coach Unred and their assistant coach KH1 both come from Armament Esports, just like the 3 most recent players that Florida decided to get. I absolutely love the fact that they're working with 3 players that they've already coached before. I would say that these 2 coaches are already off to a good start. Having 3 players that you've worked with before already makes things a lot easier because you can try and build a team around them if you wanted to, and then as it gets easier to coach other players, you can change the game plan up a bit and you can be a bit more flexible. Although I have no clue if any of these moves are going to help the team be more competitive in the future, for some reason, I have a lot of optimism for the Mayhem right now. Although Florida has been absolute trash so far this year, it's always kind of felt like they had a couple of decent pieces that were just inconsistent, and there was also the fact that there were a lot more bad players on the roster than there were good. Getting these 4 new players could end up being a massive difference maker. Pay very close attention to this team over the next couple of weeks. Let's see if these new player acquisitions make a difference or not. And with that being said, that is going to wrap up today's video. If you did enjoy it, then make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.